Welcome. Today we'll explore the essentials of risk-based auditing, a modern approach to auditing that focuses on identifying and addressing the most significant risks to an organization. Now, you might be thinking, auditing? Riveting television, Carlos. But hold on. This isn't your grandma's auditing with someone falling asleep on a stack of receipts. This is about proactively protecting your organization from potential disasters, and trust me, that's way more interesting than it sounds. So, what exactly risk-based auditing? Well, imagine you're a general preparing for battle. Do you deploy your troops randomly, hoping for the best? No, you identify the biggest threats, the weakest points, and focus your defenses there. That's risk-based auditing in a nutshell. It's about prioritizing areas with the highest risk to ensure resources are allocated effectively. It's about being proactive rather than reactive, like putting out a fire before it burns down your entire metaphorical house. Think of it like this. You wouldn't ignore a ticking bomb just because you haven't finished alphabetizing your sock drawer, would you? Of course not. You'd address the imminent explosion first. Risk-based auditing is basically applying that same logic to your organization's well-being. It's about understanding that not all risks are created equal. Some are minor inconveniences like a paper jam in the printer. Others are more akin to, well, a giant asteroid hurtling towards Earth. The first step in risk-based auditing is, well, identifying the risks. This isn't about conjuring up imaginary boogeymen to keep you up at night. This is about taking a clear-eyed, objective look at your organization and its operations to pinpoint potential threats. Think of it like detective work, but instead of searching for clues at a crime scene, you're examining your organization's objectives, processes, and even its external environment. You need to understand the organization's goals, its industry, its competitors, and even the regulatory landscape it operates in. Are there any economic factors that could impact your organization's bottom line? What about new technologies that might disrupt your industry? And let's not forget about good old-fashioned human error, which, let's face it, is always a possibility. This step is all about asking the tough questions, challenging assumptions, and not being afraid to dig deep. Because the more thorough you are in identifying potential risks, the better equipped you'll be to address them. Remember, this isn't about achieving some unattainable state of perfect risklessness. Instead, it's about gaining a comprehensive understanding of the risks your organization faces, so you can make informed decisions about how to manage them. Alright, so you've identified a whole bunch of potential risks. Now what? Well, you need to figure out which ones are the real deal and which ones are more like, well, a slight breeze on a sunny day. That's where risk assessment comes in. This step is all about playing a game of what if, and then figuring out just how bad the consequences might be. You need to consider both the likelihood of a risk occurring and the potential impact it could have on your organization. For example, the risk of a meteor strike is, thankfully, quite low. But the impact? Well, let's just say it would be a pretty bad day for everyone involved. On the other hand, the risk of someone spilling coffee on a keyboard is relatively high, but the impact is likely to be much less severe. This is about prioritizing your battles, focusing on the risks that could really throw a wrench in your organization's plans. And to do that, you need a system. Congratulations! You've identified your risks, you've assessed their potential impact, and you haven't even broken a sweat. Well, maybe a little sweat, but that's just the thrill of risk management. Now it's time to develop your audit plan, your roadmap to a more secure future. This isn't about creating a one-size-fits-all approach. This is about tailoring your audit plan to your organization's specific risks. Think of it like a bespoke suit, but instead of making you look good, it makes your organization more resilient. You're going to want to focus on the high-risk areas you identified earlier. Those are the areas where you need to direct your resources, your time, and your very best auditors. Remember, this is about efficiency, about getting the most bang for your risk management buck. Your audit plan should outline the scope of the audit, the objectives you're trying to achieve, and the procedures you'll use to gather evidence. It's like a recipe for a delicious risk-free cake, except instead of flour and sugar, you're using things like control testing and data analysis. Alright folks, it's showtime. You've got your plan, you've got your team, and you've got a metaphorical fire in your belly to tackle those risks head on. Now it's time to execute the audit. This is where the rubber meets the road, where theory transforms into action, where you finally get to put all that planning to good use. This stage is all about gathering evidence, evaluating controls, and ensuring that everything is running smoothly. Think of it like conducting an orchestra, but instead of musical instruments, you're working with financial statements, internal controls, and compliance requirements. You'll be interviewing people, reviewing documents, observing processes, and testing controls. It's about getting your hands dirty, or at least metaphorically dirty, because let's be honest, nobody wants to see an auditor actually covered in dirt. And while you're out there in the trenches, remember to keep an open mind. Things might not always be as they seem. What looks like a minor discrepancy could be the tip of a much larger iceberg. Well done, my friend, you've made it to the final stage. You've identified risks, assessed their impact, developed a plan, executed the audit, and now it's time to share your findings with the world, or at least with the relevant stakeholders in your organization. This isn't about writing a boring report that will gather dust on a shelf somewhere. This is about transforming data into actionable insights, about telling a compelling story that will inspire change and improvement. Think of yourself as a journalistic storyteller, weaving a narrative that will captivate your audience and leave them wanting more. Start by highlighting the most significant risks you identified, the ones that keep your organization's leaders up at night. Explain the potential impact of these risks, but don't just focus on the negative. Be sure to highlight the positive impact of mitigating these risks. This is also where you get to put on your problem-solving hat. For each risk you identified, provide clear, concise, and actionable recommendations. Don't just tell them what's wrong, tell them how to fix it. Congratulations, you've reached the end of our risk-based auditing adventure. You've learned how to identify, assess, and address the risks facing your organization. You've become a risk-fighting warrior, a champion of good governance, a guardian of organizational well-being. Risk-based auditing is a powerful tool for safeguarding your organization. Start implementing it today for a more secure tomorrow.